That's how will linger when you taste what Becky Low has put together for us today. It smells so good in the kitchen. St. Patrick's Day recipe that's not corned beef. We're reaching for shepherd's pie this year and all of the hearty goodness that goes with it. Becky Low is here to show us how to get this tasty comfort food in half the time. Yes, you heard me right, half the time. But before we dive in, tell me a little bit more about this as a St. Patrick's Day recipe.
Oh, you know, shepherd's pie actually has British Isle origins, and sometimes it's called the traditional Irish pie. So it just kind of fits in with it. So instead of the corned beef and cabbage, you know, this is a wonderful one with it.
Which I also think will be a welcome relief for some of us who grew up with corned beef and cabbage. Maybe my parents didn't know how to cook it, I'm not totally sure, but this is sure smelling good. And you've got to give us the quick question that everyone is asking. How do you cut the time in half on this?
Oh, okay. Actually, a couple of different steps that we're using. One of them are the potatoes. You know, traditionally a shepherd's pie has it's a stew in the base, and then you have the mashed potatoes that you put on the top. Well, instead of the mashed potatoes, in fact, we'll jump to that stage right now, I'm using the frozen hash browns. Now, this is the shreds, and so we'll just simply put some butter on the top of this and toss that in. And then we'll cover it up with some plastic wrap. So instead of the mashed potatoes, and instead of buying those potatoes in the deli section that, you know, taste like fake potatoes, we're going to use this. Okay, so just kind of stick that on. And whoops, I've got it upside down. Let me just turn that around.
That is such a fun idea, because it's true. My mind always goes to, oh, if I have leftover potatoes from a Sunday dinner or just some big event, use those. Or if not, cheat and get the box potatoes, and they're just not that good, but I wouldn't have thought this.
No.
Yeah, and this real potatoes there. I mean, they're just shredded potatoes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what it is. We microwave them until they're nice and tender.
Okay,
and so all we're doing now is just microwaving some potatoes, and so this is actually really, really fast, and it is the real thing. I did season it, you know, with a little bit of salt and pepper, and I'm actually going to put some cheese in there as well. So I'll have you just toss that in, and you don't want to, because they're cooked, you don't want to mash them up, you know, too much. Just kind of toss them gently.
Toss it in so this is evenly spread.
So that is actually extremely fast. And then the other one is, you know, the shepherd's pie. If you use beef, then it's called a cottage pie. And if you use lamb, like shepherd, then it's a shepherd's pie.
Look at that, you can call it whatever I never knew. I've always called it shepherd's pie, but I think I've always used hamburger.
And I don't care for the tomato base in it. So mine is just it's basically a stew. So whatever you might put in your stew.
So kind of a gravy base instead of a tomato. Because I've seen it and had it both ways. One that is a little bit more tomatoey based, and then one that is straight, you know, straight kind of gravy base.
Right. And that's what this is.
And a varied number of vegetables. That's the other comment I have about shepherd's pie. Sometimes like none at all. Other times people are loading it up with veggies.
Absolutely.
What do you like?
Okay, I kind of like a combination. In fact, this is another tip that I like to use with it, as you making your gravy. So I just simply mix some flour into my ground beef. I'm using ground beef, so I guess technically this is a cottage pie.
Okay, sorry people, I've been lying to you this whole time. We're making cottage pie today.
But we'll call it whatever we want.
Let's call it whatever we want. We'll call it St. Patty's pie. How about that?
There we go. Okay, now this needs to come to a boil. And so basically it just takes the time that it would be for you to cook up your hamburger. Okay, and here's just a little tip. You know, sometimes it's kind of white, so we'll use some, you know, kitchen bouquet in the middle of here.
Okay, and what is it? Does this have a taste to it?
Yeah, it's a caramelized color flavor. Yeah, so it's a brownie. And you can see how that's just
and it really does add some
to
richness to that color.
Okay, now instead of cutting up all the individual vegetables individually, I'm using frozen vegetables.
I'm loving these shortcuts today, Becky.
So normally this would come to a boil, and we would thicken this ahead of time. And then we would add our vegetables to that. Okay, and we could actually add it in right now. You don't want to overcook your vegetables.
And we're just waiting for the sauce to be a little bit thicker consistency.
Correct.
A little goopy.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're going to add just a little bit of seasoning to this as well. You know, again, you know, you use what you like. I'm using some Italian seasoning with it, and just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nope,
Yeah,
just a little bit of seasoning.
Such a good flavor.
Okay, thicken it up. Then it's just like shepherd's pie. You know, we put the potatoes on top of it, broil it. So instead of baking for half hour, 45 minutes to an hour, we're just broiling the top of it because it's all cooked. And then you have a quick pie.
And that is really quick because you're saving that 350 degrees. You're not waiting for an hour and a half for it to cook.
Absolutely.
You're just kind of warming up the top, making it crisp, and it turns out lovely. And you've added some garnishment to the top.
Yep, some little snipped chives and some crumbled bacon. I like that. And that nice brown color comes from the broiler.
I love it. Thanks so much, Becky. That looks
You bet.
delicious.